Good morning. I'm Josh. This is Jimmy. I never let him say his name.
Yeah, good.
DadSchooled.com. I don't know
How's it
why I
going?
said .com, but I want people to go to the website. It's like, go to
No,
the website, please. Yeah.
it's
Good
working.
morning, Jimmy. How is your morning going?
Mine's great. I slept all night. That's always good.
Oh,
I got my
wow.
coffee. I'm off to a great
You
start.
know, I didn't even make coffee this morning yet. That's great. Thanks for
Oh
pointing that.
no.
No, I have water. I have water. No, this morning's going great. I'll break my promise, Jimmy. After this moment, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I had a water sensor alarm in my basement go off for my Ring alarm. Long story short, I had a water issue before from one of my air conditioning units drain backing up on the evaporator or whatever you call it. So I bought a little alarm for my basement to tie into my security system, and it went off last night, and it was another problem. So I have to deal with the flooded upstairs unit later on today. It'll be great, but the alarm worked, so I'm actually happy about that. I'm just not
Hey,
happy
when
about.
a plan comes together, that's great news.
Yes. So that was not a wasted $35. That's
Uh-huh.
good. That
It's
makes
just
me feel good.
unfortunate that it decided to hit the sensor at 2:30 in the morning, but
Yeah, I gotta figure
better
out a
than
way
not at all.
so I can catch it before it damages all electronics and floods the entire heater core. Anyways,
Yeah.
speaking of busy lives, Jimmy, like that's just like a stressor on top of my life that I didn't expect to encounter today, but I have to do my best to deal with now. So welcome to adulthood again. I wake up and it's
Yeah.
just like adult across your face. Yeah.
That's what yeah. Yeah. Need a sign just on the side of your bed when you wake up every morning. Welcome back to adulthood.
Yeah. And a little hand that smacks you.
Oh, yeah.
Just make sure
Optional.
you're,
That's the
yeah.
upgrade.
Yeah. So today is dealing with interruptions as a dad and teaching not only like your kids, but yourself uh, presence and patience in this busy world. Okay. So I don't know if we've covered this before, Jimmy. Like we've danced around this topic, but I don't know if we've taken this one head on. I don't know if we've slapped this one in the face yet. Um,
No, I don't think so.
but I don't know how many other dads out there have busy lives, but I have a busy life. Like even though I have a pretty good life, it's still really busy, and I find myself more often than not um, having to make the decisions every day, multiple times a day, of do I spend time with my kids? Do I work on this task that I'm supposed to work on? Do I do this house project I'm supposed to work on? I know we already covered like the household projects doing with your kids and whatnot, but just in general, like busyness. And this is I people keep on saying the term. This is a busy season of life, a busy season of the year. Busy season, busy, 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 busy. It's like I think all the time's busy. Like there's no like busier. Maybe your kid's sports start up more and you have more things to go to, but whenever that's not happening, I feel like life still fills that void with other things to be busy with. Maybe that's
Mhm.
just me. I would like to just sit back and not have that sometimes, but here we are. So how do we deal with it, Jimmy? Are you busy?
Oh my. Um, I mean, it was something I remember someone pointed out to me. I'm trying to think like around college age or maybe soon after, where that was just kind of my pocket answer. If someone asks, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm just so busy." And because that's a normal response that I think we get from everybody. Everybody gives that response often. And someone pointed that out, and like, yeah, it's unfortunate that we wear that as like a badge of honor. Like it's like playing the one up game. Like I always have to. I'm busier than you. Let me list off all of my busy ways, and it turns into like this a weird ego competition thing of who's the busiest. And when someone pointed that out to me, I tried to take it to heart, and I'm not at all perfect at it. But when someone asks just that benign question of how are you, I try to not answer with, "Oh, I've been so busy lately." I try to actually be a little more thoughtful. I'm not perfect at giving that, but that does roll around in the back of my head of, you know what, I should give this actual more sincere thought before speaking. That, if someone is genuinely curious, like, how are you doing? How have you been? If they are sincerely asking, I should sincerely respond and not just, oh, I've just been busy. Okay, I got to keep going. I don't have time to talk to you.
Okay, Jimmy, this has got me thinking now with you. What is
Uh-oh.
your go-to response? What's your blow-off response when you don't want to answer somebody and they're like, "How you doing?" And you're just like,
Well, I woke up this morning,
"Okay." That's what you said to me this
which I
morning.
think is what I said to you. I think
Yeah.
that's what I said to you this morning.
You know what? I wanna take a pause here, and we got to talk about my awkward interaction and my previous go-to. Um, I've had a couple. If I'm having a really bad time, and I'm just not wanting to talk to somebody, I'll be like, or if I not even that, just like if I really just don't like where I'm at, I'm like living the dream, that dumb response. Um,
Huh?
but here's a funny story, not really funny, embarrassing and sad and inappropriate, which is why I'm gonna tell it. Long time ago, I were talking. I don't even know how long ago, like tens of years ago, maybe less. um, I had a friend pass away, and he he had a wife and he had two kids, and his wife um would was out of church for a while, and taking time, obviously, understandably. And my common phrase at the time, when I didn't want to answer and I was just being kind of a push off, was, "I'm alive."
Hmm.
Okay. So her first day back at church, and I will never forget this because
No.
how bad I felt as soon as I said it. We're walking out of church, and she's standing there. Everyone's kind of like hugging on her, and saying, "Glad you're back. How you doing?" Standard platitudes you do to somebody you don't know what to say. And comes to me, and she asked me how I was doing, and I go, "I'm alive." To the widow, I felt
Oops.
as soon as I said it, I felt like garbage. So I pretty much changed at that exact moment that I would not say that anymore.
Mm.
Because you don't know what someone's going through. Even though I knew what she was going through, I was still stupid and said that because I didn't think about it. So I try to put a little more thoughtfulness into it. But I do slip back to the living the dream if I'm really just done with life right now. But yeah, all that aside,
Just be careful. Don't say that to someone who can't dream, I guess.
is there a disease like you cannot dream? And this person's like manically depressed because they can't ever dream. And I'm like, living the dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you ruined
No,
that for me now, Jimmy. Thanks.
that was unfortunate. I'm really sorry that happened. There's
Yeah.
no quicker way to feel small. Like, ugh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And she just smiled and gave me a hug, and I was like, oh. Soon, I'm like, as I said it, I realized what I was doing. It was the worst, but we got past it. She still talks to me, so it's fine. um, Hopefully, she doesn't remember that moment like I do, because it's a terrible feeling to feel that way. Um,
Mm. Ouch.
so my dad has a favorite phrase: "Man plans, God laughs." Now, I think it kind of fits with this because, like Proverbs 16:9, the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Right. So that has an undertone of, although we have all these things we want to do, you know, other things might happen that are outside our control. Whether it's God's intervention, whether it's other people's interventions, um,
Mhm.
you can't control everything. That's very, very clear in this world. And trying to plan things and having a heart issue. And when I say about heart issue is having a problem with it's hard to choose like the way wrong way to say that. So I'm gonna retract that statement, Jimmy. Um, having an
I'll allow it.
issue with being flexible, right? Not being able to change direction, but having a negative mindset when things change. That's something I think that I struggle with. Like I was just talking to my wife about this the other day, yesterday, the other day. Um, like whenever you have something that you're planning, and whether you share it with others or not, most of the time I don't share it with others. Like this is in my head, and I'm like, this is how this should go. I have a plan. I approach a situation, and then it happens differently than what I thought it should happen, and I get upset.
Mm.
But I didn't
Mm-hmm.
share my plan with anybody. I didn't make my expectations known, which, according to my accountability handbook that I read the other week, is a big no-no. You're supposed to communicate, make sure everyone understands your expectations, because the first thing of holding someone accountable, including yourself, is make sure they all know their expectations. So without establishing a clear ground rules of what I expected in the situation, I'm gonna be mad about it. That's basically what happens every day for me. Or situations like Father's Day or your birthday or Christmas or any holiday I approach, I have an expectation of how I think it should happen, and then things all change. So that's kind of like, I think that'll be point number one, which is not on my list here, Jimmy. So you're welcome. Being
Okay.
flexible. Yeah, you're like, what list? I don't follow that anymore. Why do you even spend time to do this? So clinging closely to our plans, I think we can get outside the scope of where God wants us to go. We can lose sight of. I'm not gonna. I want to like dance around the whole like predestination type of conversation right here, because I truly believe that just because God knows everything doesn't mean that He is necessarily making me do everything. So it's an internal fight I have, and you can believe what everyone out there, peoples. I'm not going to argue with you on this, because churches are divided over this, different denominations are created over this. So we're not going to solve this right here, Jimmy. It's not going to happen.
Right. No. Yeah.
But
That was
but
not on the on the list today.
it was not on the list to solve that divide in the church. So we're not even going to try it. But I do believe that He does know everything, because he's outside of space and time, so he knows what's going to happen. Okay, now does that mean he can't interact with? He's God; he can do whatever he wants, in my opinion. Right? I'm not going to argue with that. But I do believe we're giving the knowledge, we're given the ability to make choices, and we are also supposed to align our lives and our paths in life with God's, God's not plan. What word am I looking for here? Um, Nature. We're to align ourselves with God's nature, because if it's outside of God's nature, we shouldn't be doing it. That's not part of what He wants us to do. Because if we have the urge to kill somebody, that's outside of God's nature. We shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
If we have the urge to, or if we have something presented in front of us to help somebody who's in need, or ignore them, I can choose either one. I can choose to ignore someone, that's fine, and God knew I was going to choose that beforehand, but He allowed me to make that choice. Jimmy, I think I am trying to solve this problem. But if I choose to align myself on my own free will with doing the more righteous pathway of helping somebody in need, that is what I should do. Now, likewise, I can make terrible plans, and others around me can make terrible plans too. This is the whole reason I'm speaking this long, drawn out thing. Anybody and everyone can make whatever plans they want around me, so they might not align with my plans, and I can't be upset about that. Well, I can be upset about that, but I need to learn how to control that, and understand that if I'm just going to be negative and upset all the time, that's not going to be very helpful to my family around me. Can we all agree to that, Jimmy?
Right. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Being able to try to one of the hard things for me is when I got things going on in the house, and I know this about myself a lot, that I'm very one-track minded whenever I have a task or a project that I'm working on. I'm annoyingly one track minded, and having a young one or something else, or a phone call or whatever, when I get interrupted and I'm trying to do a specific thing, it I easily get annoyed. And I'm very aware of that with myself, because I have a hard time, like, after the interruption, picking back where I left off and remembering, okay, exactly what step I'm on. Or, honestly, a lot of times it may be something I actually could very easily pick back up where I left off, but I've built it up in my head to think that I can't. And so when I have something in front of me that I know has to keep me busy, or is going to take my attention, I very much have a tendency to blow off any sort of interruption, and unfortunately, that comes from my kids. From time to time, or more often maybe than I'm even aware. That if I'm working on a project on my computer, or trying to fix something around the house, or we've got a something we're cleaning or whatever, whatever's in front of me, if I'm keeping myself to the one track mind set that I very easily fall into, that rut that I'm in life, that man, I end up missing out on what else could be going on in my life with my kids, with my family. And I don't want to end up alienating because I'm so stuck in my own little world.
Yeah, that's I have the same. I work at home in my basement, so I have to be very. I don't want to say harsh, but I have to be strict with my family on when I'm working. I'm working, and when I'm not working, I'm available. But here's the problem: I have other things I do in my office as well. I have other side projects for other clients I work on after hours. I have a freelance kind of business, so um, after normal work hours for the main company I work for, I might still be down here working on things until late in the morning or all weekend. And I don't necessarily like that. I'd rather be free and be able to spend time with my family all the time. But there are times where I need to knuckle down and just get some things done. So I feel
Mhm.
like it's that quote that I had a couple of weeks ago for on our cat podcast about you make time for doing things that you want to do. You know, I this is Josh's paraphrase version. This is terrible. The actual quote's better. But in a nutshell, like if there's something you really want to do, you make time for it, and whatever you are doing is kind of indicative of where you want to spend your time. Now, you might
Mhm.
look at your schedule and be like, man, I do a lot of work. I don't want to do that all the time. That's not true, Josh. It's like, well, it is, because you're choosing to do that work. You're choosing to stay those long hours. You're choosing to do this. You might argue back, well, I want a paycheck. And I'm like, well, have you ever had that thought looking around at your other employees or other people you work with? And you're like, man, they do bare minimum and they still get paid and they're still here, and then you do that exceptional job and you don't, you know, get any further. Now, this is not me telling you to slack off. This is not me telling you to that you shouldn't do your hardest and best job ever. But it's also telling you that you can do less at work. You can still honor your employer, and you can stay biblically grounded in that regard of doing the best you can do without doing excessive at the expense of your family. And that's the balance that's really hard to learn when you're actually a responsible person. Now, if you have a personality that you're a lazy sack of potatoes, this is like second nature to you. You're like, oh yeah, I just leave 5 minutes early every day. It doesn't bother me at all. That's that's
Mhm.
not who I'm talking to here. I'm talking to the dad who puts in the extra hours because they want to see a project done right, and that extra hours turns into consistently extra hours all the time, and you're just doing it. Now, whether your employer expects that from you or not, it's just something you get in the habit of doing. You're just like, I gotta get this done, so I'm gonna do this. And it's actually poor planning on your part. You should have planned your schedule better and been like, okay, family time. And for me, like, family time means getting up and leaving my office. And then here's the other thing: if the kids are playing video games and they want me to play games with them, this is the same office I use that from. So it's a really hard balance for me I feel like I've done a pretty good job, but recently I do know that I've been down here a lot. And I've been pulling like, 2, 3 in the morning kind of stints working on some projects. And this is a whole long-winded run up to I have an ongoing every single day battle, Jimmy. Let me tell you about this. Oliver, my youngest son, he's 6. He loves soccer, and he's also a gamer. He loves playing games, but he loves soccer. And we have a pretty big space in our basement where we can kick balls at a area, and he can be like a pseudo goalie, right? And he has his little goalie gloves on, and he'll dive sideways with his carpet, and he'll just do all sorts of fun things. And he wants you just to
It's
constantly
the
chip
rug
balls.
burns everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put the holes in his knees. It's great.
Yeah.
So he constantly wants anybody and everybody to do that with him. So the other older kids are, every now and then they'll come down, but as soon as you come down, he is very adamant about how you kick the ball, how high, how hard, kick it harder, kick it not so hard. Me not being an expert soccer player, I kick the ball and hits him in like the face, and he's all crying, and I feel bad. But he's like, "Play with me more, Dad." And I'm like, "I just kicked you in the face, so I don't want to." But yeah, so like all day long, he'll come to my office door, and my office door will be open if I'm not in a meeting. It'll be closed if I am in a meeting. And lately, I've been keeping it closed because the kids just barge in. No matter what the door is open or closed, they just barge in anyway. So it doesn't even matter. Just take the door off and throw it away. But they'll come in and they'll be like, "Hey, you busy?" I'm like, "I'm in a meeting. You see people on my computer screen talking with me. I have a microphone in my face talking to somebody, and you're like, 'Hey, Dad, you play soccer?'" It's like, no. Okay, so like the first time it's like, no, son, you can be nice, but it happens 5 times in an hour. You're like, dude, and you have a conversation, and you might say words that you don't want to say that they speak that meanly to your kids. So that's a constant struggle I have is every single second of the day he is asking me to play soccer with him down here. And as I have 5 minutes here or there, I will jump up and kick a ball at him. I have that freedom. I figure that's a great work-life balance to get up and walk upstairs, get some coffee, kick the ball a couple times, come back to the office, and get to the next meeting, right? Um, but in his eyes, I constantly think this. In his eyes, he's like, "Dad's always so busy. He can't play with me." And that's what I'm like wrestling with that internally. I don't want him to like walk away in his childhood thinking that his dad was too busy to play with him.
Yeah. I mean, you've got that extra challenge of your work week is actually still spent in the home. You're still physically in the building with your family. And so when you're doing your work hours, you're providing for your family, you haven't actually, gone elsewhere except for the times that you have to go into the office, but otherwise, you're there in the house. And so that does create that extra hurdle. But I think maybe when we were growing up, before the age of home computers and video games and all that sort of stuff, we've got new layers of distraction with social media and all that sort of stuff now. But you would hear of the dad that has his workbench in the garage for he builds these guys his woodworking tools, and he's working on something, building something, or he's got to work on the car, or he's tinkering with the car, or he's got some other random thing that he's just always in the garage, or he's always in the yard. Maybe your dad was loved gardening, so he's always outside pulling weeds, messing with the garden. You hear stories of dads that find a hobby, and hobbies are great. You need to have hobbies. The hobbies can turn into just another layer of separation from your family, where if you're already gone, you're already busy all day with work, you're providing for your family. You're doing a very valuable, very important, role in your family's life. But then if you come home and it's immediately, well, I've got this other routine where I have another wall that just immediately goes up, come in, have my plate of food, or, the dad that even comes in, grabs his plate of food and takes it with him to the garage, and, just doesn't interact with the family at all. Like that's a whole extra layer of challenge of being busy. And now these days, it could be that sort of stuff, tinkering in the garage, the yard, or whatnot, or turning on the TV. I can't miss my favorite shows. Think of the dad that always had his lazy boy recliner, and he's like, well, I've got to sit right here and you don't interrupt. Maybe during a commercial you can ask me a question, but when the show's on, I can't miss my shows. And yeah, there's constantly something, I think, for each dad, whatever is your personal vice, your personality, however you're wired. Each dad could have his own list of, I've got my work things that I have to do, and then I've got my personal things that I like to do. And unfortunately, more often than I think we like to admit, we end up kind of boxing our family out in a lot of ways. And I'm guilty of it in my own ways as well, of whenever I'm not busy with work, finding things to keep myself entertained, or going down the rabbit holes, researching this or that. And I have to deliberately decide I'm unplugging from everything else, and I need to continue doing it more than I like to admit that I am. But making sure I'm available, like, that's a conscious decision. If I don't consciously decide I'm available with you right now, I don't do it. And that's my own conviction coming out right now. Like, I have to push myself to do that more, do that better.
Yeah, and you're completely right. Like, I used to have, before I had my fourth kid, I did go into the office every single day, and it was a different problem I had at that point. My problem for spending time, my time suck, if you will, that would probably be video games, honestly. But at the time, my kids, I didn't interact with them as much as I do now, nearly. Even though we still homeschooled, or like the last couple of years, I was in the office. I mean, I had jobs where I'd leave, I drop off at daycare on the way out the door. I drop off at daycare on the way to work, and then pick them up from daycare on the way home. We get home, and it's like it's a battle of, are there any activities? Do you have dinner to get through? And then your bedtime routine starts like what, 7 or 8 when they're that young, and they're in bed, and then you have the night to yourself, and you do your own thing. And that's more of a spousal connection issue we talk about at that point. We each have our own things after a busy day, and do we come together? Do we stay apart? What do we do with our time? But kids, like, when they're younger, I mean, I'm going to be honest, it was a lot easier. There was a time frame from like baby, as long as they weren't like a really fussy baby to, I don't know, let's say 4, that you can kind of just get into the routine of just like bed, free time, next morning, get them fed, and you just go through the motions. But now we both have kids that are teens. We both have kids that are the middle of the road as well. Not teens yet, but old enough to have a conversation and understand my choice to spend time with them or not. And they can rationalize that, like, dad doesn't want to spend time with me, or dad wants to spend time with me, or they have emotions and feelings, especially about, do I spend time with them or not? So yeah, you be careful how you say things. Are you constantly saying, give me a minute? But then your minute, and this, I'm going to call my wife out here. My wife is really guilty about this. She'll be working on something. She's like one of the hardest workers in our house. I'm going to say that off the bat. Like, I respect her work ethic more than anybody I've ever met. I think it's like, it used to be my dad's work ethic was like up here, and nothing could ever touch it. But then I met my wife, and she like surpassed him and made him look lazy, even though they're both extremely hard workers, like not a lazy bone in their bodies. And so, almost before I say that, I get myself in trouble. I'm going to say that I respect her work ethic. Okay. But she has a bad habit of, when she's working on something, and one of the kids or I need something, or need her to go upstairs or leave the house or do something, she'll tell us, 1 minute, I'll be there in a minute. It's never a minute, Jimmy. It's never a minute.
Yeah.
It's
Well, how
always
many of
long.
us do that?
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of us
true.
do that.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's fair. I shouldn't blame her for that, but I just know that she doesn't. I know that her minute is not a minute ever because of that. She's always working still, and that's I say the same thing, like, I'll be there in a minute, and I'm not, or I'll kick a ball with you in a second. But then I feel like if I tell them no, like, I could give you a minute, So I'm choosing not to. I've already been interrupted. Like, if I'm working on actual code, because I'm a software engineer. If I'm actually working on code, I'm not gonna lie, Jimmy. if you come and talk to me or interrupt me or text me or anything when I'm in the zone going through lines of code and I'm like tracking down a variable or tracking down something and trying to solve a problem. And it's always when I'm like debugging something, never when I'm creating. It's just kind of a funny story about me, I guess. If I'm like making something from scratch and just like developing something, I can listen to music, I can have a movie on, I can be completely like in the zone working on this and have background noise. As long
Yeah.
as I've heard it before. If I've not heard the song before, or if I've not watched the movie before, I can't watch it because I'll end up watching it instead of working. Right. But if I know what it is, I
Uh-huh.
can just listen to it and work.
It's
But
just
if I'm
background noise.
but if I'm actually trying to solve a problem, like digging through code, and I can't figure something out, and someone interrupts me, I gotta start over. And starting over could mean going back a couple minutes or 5 minutes worth of debugging work to figure out where my mind was at that moment. It's a legit
Mhm.
stoppage, and it's really frustrating. Like people always say, "I get interrupted, I got to start all over." In software world, that's actually very
Can
true.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. You got to start
Yeah.
all over what you were just thinking about, and you might have to reset the program, change some code, change some variables, set yourself up for another test that you were just running through, just to get back to that one line of code that was the problem that you just got interrupted to because you're in the middle of it. So it's hard not to get really frustrated and mad. It's hard not to have the
Yeah.
anger in your voice, and that's something that I have to work on because I'll be like, I'll blow it out of proportion. I'll be like, I was in the middle of something and you stopped me. And the kids are like, just want to say I love you. And they run away. And it's like, I
Yeah.
suck.
No, I've had good success the small handful of times that I've thought of this, and each time I've thought of it, and it's the simplest, dumbest thing, but each time it's worked, and I'm like, oh man, I need to do that more often. It's if I'm working on something and one of my girls needs help with whatever, or they want to go do, will you come play a game, whatever is going on, and I'll pull out my phone and go, okay, I'm setting an alarm for myself, and when the alarm goes off, then I'll come join you and we'll go do whatever the thing is that you're asking to do. But until the alarm goes off, I need you to know I have to stay focused on this. And so you can keep doing your thing. Just let me keep doing my thing. But they're in the other room, they're listening and they're waiting. But it helps me to be able to stay focused because then they're not coming the every 2, 3, 5 minutes. Is it ready yet? Is it time now? Are you ready now? Are you ready now? Because they just really want to have dad time. And I might have something that I legitimately have to get done. And those times that I've been like, you know what, let me just set an alarm. And in the moment the alarm is off and I have to keep myself to that commitment, or else that opens up a whole new bag of insecurity, with my kids. If I'm like, well, I'm just going to hit the snooze button and then I'll get to you. I'm going to hit the snooze button again and then I'll get to you. Then that's creating a whole different thing. But if I can set that expectation, clearly give an expectation, communicate it well, and I feel like this works in so many avenues in life. Yeah. Communicate well and clearly an expectation, and then hold yourself to it. Then the outcome, the level of trust and the satisfaction that is going to be experienced by you and your kid on the other side. Like I said, it's only been a handful of times I've thought of this strategy, and it's always gone well. Like I'm thinking of it now, I'm like, I need to do this way more often because it's always been great. But yeah, anytime I've done this, it's always it's paid dividends.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this word, and I have one of those smart devices at my desk that if you say the name, it talks to you. So I'm not going to say its name, but you all have a flavor of that. And through my work day, I will constantly say, set an alarm for 1:55 p.m., set an alarm for 2:55 p.m., because I know that at 3 o'clock or at 2 o'clock, I'll have a meeting. So I'll give myself a 5-minute buffer just before the meeting starts, so the alarm goes off. I can get ready. I can be prepared at my desk, have my coffee ready, be the bathroom. I do that to myself, so I'm ready. But that's a good point. I should use that more for my kids as well, and be like, set an alarm for this. I'm gonna go play in 15 minutes or something. So yeah, that's a good tip, Jimmy. That'll be my my homework for this week is to do that. But
yeah, just you can just toss out there, hey Alexa, play Baby Shark.
That's mean.
Did it wake up?
It did. You seriously did that?
Oh, I just learned a new hack that's going to make this show way more entertaining. I'm sorry. I just derailed.
It started going. It wouldn't stop. Thank you for that. Now it's on my last playlist as well. Thank you.
Yes. I'll make it favorite it. It'll just create a whole new playlist we'll set that as your alarm clock to wake you up in the morning.
Jimmy, that was very well done. I'm proud of you for that one. That was good. And you know what? Anybody who watches this in the future is going to get the same problem. They're next to one.
So exactly. So talking about interruptions and info, getting back on track after an interruption, I derailed the whole thing.
Well, I mean, so we talked about our kids watching us do things, and that's a good point. As usual, being present with your kids is a very strong theme in our entire existence for doing this podcast. It doesn't change when you're making plans or working on your job and doing things. You have to be present with your kids and family still, and how you separate that work-life balance, how you handle your time so you can be with your kids, whether set an alarm or whatever the plan is. That is modeled to your kids, and your kids will learn this, and they will do something with this knowledge in the future. Either they will hate how you do this and they will do it differently, or they will like how you do this and they will follow this. So as a dad, we need to think about how we're modeling our time usage and how we're modeling our responsibility and our word when we're saying we're going to do something. Are we saying 1 minute and then we 6 hours later finally get up to do that? That's not very good modeling, is it? Good modeling would be saying 1 minute and 59 seconds later you're getting up to do it. So if you're not early or late, right? That's the old thing that everyone loves to say but never follows.
Yeah.
Okay. Jimmy, you have gotten us really. I'm gonna blame you for this.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. What? So, Jimmy, I'm gonna ask you this instead of asking myself this. What are you saying yes to that's forcing you to say no to your family? What are you saying yes to that is forcing you to say no to your family? Don't say this podcast.
The little, the little black rectangle that I carry in my pocket and is more often in my hand than I wish it to be.
Okay.
That darn little glass square or screen thing that stares back.
So I have a question for you. Legit, I know you're struggling with this whole what kind of phone to get for your daughter, right? Because she's of the age where it makes sense for her to have one coming up pretty soon here. And you've been wrestling with the bark or the wise or whatever. I don't even know where your mind's at with how I haven't pressured you at all because I have a strong opinion, but I don't want to force it on you. But I challenge you even. The wise phone is not just for kids. It's actually made for adults to change their life and not be so dependent on their phone for wasting their time. It's a tool for productivity, but not if you look at it that way. Like you can't check your email even on it. That's how locked down it is.
Oh wow.
You can't sit there and scroll through things. You can't go on social media at all. It's not allowed. You can't even download it. So my question to you, Jimmy, is why don't you get a wise phone?
Because they don't have it on Apple platform.
Oh man, okay. Oh, so you're afraid of an actual good device in your pocket. Okay. Okay. So tell me more about how your black box is controlling your life.
No, it just sucks you in. Whatever's going on in the world, just news and that information world is it's dangerous for me to just like, oh, that's an interesting topic, and I find rabbit holes. That's my superpower is I can dig on a topic, and if someone needs help with something, like, hey Jimmy, can you help me figure out what's going on something, even if it's just, trying to figure out a repair or whatever. Like I can find an answer for you. I'm good at digging. But then when I have my spare time and my free thoughts, that my digging goes weird. So it is a distraction. It absolutely is a distraction for me. It used to be just sports. Like I used to just religiously, I knew like every team's ideal person for who they should draft in the NFL draft, or like I knew all the stats of so many different things, and over time I just got bored of that, and my attention went elsewhere. But I was that guy that followed every stat line of all the players. I was into fantasy football, all that sort of stuff. I found ways to distract myself, and embarrassingly, it way back then, like that is what took time away from my daughter. Was like, well, I gotta set my roster for my fantasy team, so I gotta dig into all this stuff. And oh man, it sucked up so much time and so much effort, energy, attention. So I moved on from that one, and now I've got other things that are distracting me that I'm convicted about that I need to move on from.
So you were the guy at the office who I would purposely look up what game just happened and be like, oh, did you see that catch and so in the third quarter? And then that person will go on for 6 hours about the stats of every single person and who the next person is. And I had no idea what they're talking about the entire time. I was just like,
I could usually do it in about 5 hours.
5 hours,
Of
you're
6.
efficient. That's
Yeah,
good.
I'm much more efficient.
Okay, so Jimmy, whenever you get into your mode of looking at your black box, looking at all these different things of distractions, what are some things that you can do to audit that? How can you take a step back? I mean, I guess the first half is knowledge is power, right? You know there's a problem, and you're admitting that.
Mhm.
So that's like step one. But what kind of things can you do possibly to do a self check?
Well, especially like days that I'm home and not off at work at my job, but when I'm home, having those times that are specifically set aside, like this is going to be an understood, and I mean this is something for me to work on as well. This isn't something I'm already perfect at, but creating like an opportunity window. So like lunchtime, screens are off. You guys aren't going to watch a show. I'm not on my phone. We're going to enjoy lunch together. We're going to sit at the table together and we're going to talk. And or you guys tell me, what you're working on with school. And I dig as a parent and try to figure out like, okay, where are you guys struggling? How can I help prod that along? How can I challenge your thinking or whatever they've got going on? Creating opportunity windows that then can create those openings of legitimate, honest, and healthy interaction and connection with my kids. I think we have to decide that that's going to be a structured part, like an actual part of the day that we've almost scheduled in. Maybe schedule is not the right word, but
That's a good word.
planned for.
Plan. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to
like
block time off in your day. Schedule it for.
because
As sad as it sounds, you need to do that.
yeah. Well, what's that whole song? The Cat's in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon.
Sing it
Have you
for
heard
us,
that
Jimmy.
song?
Sing it for us.
No, I'm not singing. I don't have that luxury gift anymore. But that's like in that whole what that whole song is about. Like, come on, Dad, don't you want to? We'll get around to it later. Um, and
I
yeah, I'm
actually
like I'm
never.
feeling
I've
that at
heard the
this
song and
point.
I never put that two and two together. So thanks, Jimmy. I gotta listen to that
Yeah,
song.
you need to pull it back up, pull it back up. But that's
Yeah.
I just want to go do the thing with you, Dad, and we'll get to it later. We'll get there. We'll get there before you know it. Like later has gone and passed, and
Yep.
you can't get it back.
And then the parents gone and you can't ever do it. And now you have a really good song.
And then you write a number one hit
Yeah.
single and go on tour.
So wrapping this up, so you need to audit your week. You need to look at what you're doing. You need to plan some time with your kids. It's all like high level. Sounds that sounds reasonable. Yeah, but do it. You got to do it.
Mhm.
You got to make that effort with your spouse, with your kids, and with yourself. And yourself's another important one that we can get into a whole other topic about. But it's like you got to take time for yourself too, and do that selfish thing for yourself, but don't make all your time about that. If that makes sense, because that's easy to do. Also, you can tip that scale and go the opposite direction, and instead of taking 5 minutes or taking 30 minutes to watch a show while you eat ice cream and just relax for 30 minutes out of the whole day of working, it can turn into several hours and episodes later. So you gotta be careful. But schedule time with your kids. Set a timer. That's a great tip that Jimmy came up with, all on his own.
I wish.
No. So and watch your phraseology. Watch what you say to your kids. Like, are you saying 1 minute and then not following through? Make sure your kid understands you have my full attention now. Make it known in this moment I'm with you, nothing else. And that will be powerful for your kid to see that. To see you take your phone and put it down and be like, this is staying here. This is an alarm for 6 hours and I'll come back to work or so, whatever the time. But you leave your phone down so you're not looking at it constantly. Same thing like with a date or spending time with your wife, dating your wife. You don't want your phone in front of you the entire time. You don't want to be listening to a conversation that they're saying and then pick your phone up and be like, hold on, this is more important than what you're saying to me. That's
Are you on a date with your spouse or your 100 connections on Facebook?
Right, and that's a hard one. Some of my connections are definitely not as good as my wife.
No.
But yeah. So our challenges, I kind of got into it. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I'm sorry. I took your thunder here. Our challenge this week is before you sigh or react or redirect, take time and just spend time with your kid. Take that 5 minutes. Take that 5 minutes to get up and go kick a ball in your basement or wherever. I know it's getting kind of cold here, so that's a great place to do that. But we can have close, godly moments with our kids, teaching them how to love, teaching them how to spend time with each other, and showing them just by being present that they care and they matter in our lives. So make sure we do that. Make sure you do that at least once this week, and once additionally. How's that? If you already do it more. Unless you're really having a problem at work and you need to work.
Well, and the one last thing that popped up in my mind that I thought of earlier, but to try to close it out, is also being mindful of when you give your response to your kid. If it's the sort of thing of, we're going to do it, we'll get to it soon, and you give a specific time, hopefully you follow all those things. When you turn to give them your response, be mindful of you're not giving the eye roll or the deep sigh, like, okay, like that. That's communicates true. A whole nother layer of, it communicates what words don't. And how often I'm guilty of that too.
Same. I'm guilty of that one.
If you legitimately have to have your kids, whatever you're wanting to do with them, if you need to push that back on the clock, on the calendar, if that's a legitimate thing, be mindful of how you're communicating when you set up those new parameters with them, because the body language can say so much, and it can end up, causing hurt in a legitimate way without ever saying a single word. So that was my last little challenge to toss out there at the last second for whoever is still listening. If you made it this far, congratulations.
You get all the prizes. Good job.
That's right.
You can also, if you're not familiar with our podcast, because we're very widely known, this is our 40-second episode. You know that, Jimmy? 42nd. 42 times we've come on here.
42 times wiser.
42 times wiser. That's right. But like, subscribe, pass this around. Go to DadSchoolPodcast.com. Please leave a comment. Leave us anything you want to say about it. Give us your grocery list for this week. We don't care. We like hearing everything. Just send us something. Not begging. See us on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm really bad at Instagram. That's not really my forte, so I'm struggling with that one. I'm trying. TikTok, not on there on purpose. I don't do TikTok. But have a good week. We'll talk to you next week.
See you later.
Clothing. Oh, I didn't do it. closing thoughts, Jimmy?
Hey Alexa.
Nope. So
No, I
bye.
won't do it.